Hello everybody, it's Professor Reach, and today we're going to learn one of the most important things about language acquisition, that is, learning languages. Have you ever wondered why sometimes in some situations you can follow a complex English conversation perfectly, and other times you can't catch the meaning of even something quite simple? Why is that? Maybe you think it's just random fluctuations in your English ability. We might say maybe it's just changes from day to day in your ability, right? Like sometimes you can do a lot of things and concentrate, and other times you can't. Maybe you think it's changes in your physiology and your biology. Like some days you've got energy and some days you haven't. Some days you have a coffee and some days you don't. Some days you have a tea. Both of these explanations have got some merit, but they're not the main factor. Let me show you this. What does this mean? Can you read this? Do you know what it is? What about now? So what changed? Why is it now you can read it, but before you couldn't? How about this? Do you know what this means? What about now? What about now? The second word is a slang term that only people in a specific community would know. But with those examples, you could get it. So what changed? From when you didn't understand to when you did, what changed? Well, what changed is you gained context. We started with language out of context, and then I gave you the context. And the more context you have, the more you understand it. Context actually provides the majority of meaning. If you see the word incredible written down on a blank piece of paper, what does that mean? How about if the paper was found in a scientist's lab? How about if it was written in massive letters? How about if it was written on the back of a paper, and on the other side, you've got all these mathematical formulas? With each addition of information, you can contextualize the language, and your mind will have a greater idea of what that means. Incredible. Incredible. If you want to become a proficient user of any language, you have to understand the power of context. It is critical to becoming a proficient language learner. Let's talk a bit about how this can be powerful. First, are there certain situations in English when you're consistently able to understand and communicate well? But then there's others where it's really difficult. So often this can actually be down to your personal context. For example, if we take someone who works in academia, like a university lecturer, they probably find it really easy to read academic papers, probably find it easy to talk with the other lecturers. But if they go down the pub with a couple of students, suddenly they can't follow what's being said. They can't follow the conversation. They can't take part. Why not? Because it's outside their current contextual knowledge. Another example of this is imagine taking two mechanics, a German mechanic and an Italian mechanic. All right? Neither of them speak English, and they only speak their own language. The German speaks German, the Italian speaks Italian, that's it. Then we give them a broken car, which requires 2 men to fix it. Not only will they almost certainly be able to cooperate and fix it, but most likely they'll very quickly pick up certain terms from others' language, which refers to parts of the car and the engine. So the German will learn the Italian for engine. The Italian might learn the German for spanner. Spanner is a special tool, right? If we repeat this with the same 2 men over a period of months, they'll probably start to have a really useful way of communicating. They'll probably have quite a lot of phrases from each other's language. They might even pick up some functional language like, pass me the tool, pass me the hammer, pass me the spanner, pass me the wrench in German or Italian or whatever. They'll probably become quite effective at communicating with each other. That's powerful. Giving them that common context of the car that they both know so well enables them to acquire a form of communication more effectively. On the other hand, if we then take them outside of that context, then maybe they'll struggle quite a bit to communicate with, say, if we take the German mechanic and put him in an Italian bar, unless he encounters a group of Italian mechanics, it could be difficult for him. So that's understanding your own context, and it's useful actually to understand your own context. Why is it useful? Let's talk about the implications. First, it could mean you want to focus on building up contextual knowledge in other areas to help you with your English in those areas. For example, if you want to improve business vocabulary, maybe you actually need to learn more about business at the same time. If you want to improve your story writing in English, you better hope that you have a pretty good knowledge of stories and how to write stories, either in English or in your own language, right? You have to have that contextual knowledge to understand the language that goes in there. This is why language very often is linked with culture, because understanding culture can really help you understand a language, because culture gives you a lot of context, right? If you know all about the British pub, then understanding the English, British, Irish pub, understanding that environment, you can quite easily start to understand some of the vocabulary that goes along with it. Stool, barrel, a quick bevy, right? But you can only really start to understand those terms more when you understand the culture of that. So understanding that you need contextual knowledge to help you to learn language in an area, that's important. Second, rather than thinking, oh, I have to learn context of a new area to learn that language, another thing you can do is you can link the language to your own context. Language teachers call this personalization, and it's very powerful personalization. So one way of doing that is actually through translation. It's one of the reasons why I'm not particularly against using translation, as long as it's used correctly, phrase to phrase. Be very careful about translating word to word. But translation can be helpful. It can provide context. For example, if I want to explain a power nap to a Spanish person, I might just say, well, it's like a siesta, but it's just 20 minutes. And, normally people say it when they imply that they're working really hard and they need the rest, right? So Spanish people are very familiar with the concept of a siesta. So then this can contextualize that for them. Oh, power nap, it's like a siesta, but a bit different, right? Another way we can do it without translation, we can personalize the language. Make it relevant to the student's context. So if we're learning a new phrase, oh, that was absolutely gorgeous. I love that meal. Just, So we're learning that was absolutely gorgeous. But for food, for students from Valencia, for example, I might show them a picture of paella, because paella is from Valencia, right? And they're so proud of the paella, right? They think it's the best food, right? And I might say, you know, I had a paella the other day and it was absolutely gorgeous. Have you ever had a paella that's absolutely gorgeous? Tell me about it, right? So then I'm introducing this language and also giving them an opportunity to use it to tell me about an absolutely gorgeous paella that they've had. On the other hand, if I was doing this with Japanese students, then, you know, I'd use a picture of a sushi. For Italians, pasta, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? This is personalization, okay? When I'm introducing that was absolutely gorgeous, you know, I might not use like British toad in the hole, because a lot of foreign students won't know what toad in the hole is, and they certainly might not think it's absolutely gorgeous, right? So this is personalization, really helps. Personalization helps comprehension and it helps retention. So not only will this aid your comprehension, but it makes retention more likely. That means you're more likely to remember it, and therefore you're more likely to use it. So some key points. Context is heavily linked to meaning. More context, more meaning. No context, much less meaning. No context is almost meaningless. It certainly can be meaningless. Point 2, the more context you have, the more you can understand the meaning. So when you're provided with extra context, then you can understand the meaning more. Think about the German mechanic. If we put him in a class, an English class, that specializes in learning about cars and mechanics, he might do quite well. Right? But if we put him in an academic English class where he has to learn academic writing in English, not yet. Not ready for that, I don't think. Point 3, language in a familiar context is easier to understand. That's the example I just gave, isn't it, about the mechanic? Well done, Rich. Point 4, personalizing language helps you learn. You can personalize language yourself. Right? You can personalize language yourself. Once you get an idea of a new phrase or term, the meaning, you shift it to your own context. Are you a musician? Find a way to talk about that in a musical way. Are you into video games? Then talk about video games. The graphics are absolutely gorgeous. All right? You get the idea. So context. I cannot overestimate the power of context. Good language teachers understand this a lot. It's one of the reasons why some of the videos you find on YouTube, which are like, here's 10 phrases to do this, and there's no context, they're maybe not as useful as they could be. Let's put it that way. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave a comment down below. Comments the most important thing right now. I want comments. Give me some comments, guys. Let me know that you're there and it's not just Russian bots watching my channel. All right? Like, subscribe, share. Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure, and I will catch you next time.